afternoon. Good morning. So everybody's still awake. Okay, good morning, colleagues. So good to be here. It's a very important event. For my sins this morning, for the rest of the day, I will be facilitating this engagement, a very important engagement in the history of the institution, that is VUT, but also in partnership with the Presidential Climate Commission. So we are quite humbled, I think, as an institution, to be identified as one of those actors in this space that the Commission wants to engage with. You'll recall that this is a second engagement between these parties. The last one was on the 29th of April on the main campus. Colleagues, without any further ado, because I'm worried about the time, and I don't want also to be accused that I let slip on this one, but we started a bit late, so we'll be watching the clock or the watch, as it were, quite closely. So we will definitely then be following the program that is in front of you to the T. But when it comes to the presentations, we will try and see to it that there is also engagement, with the people in the house. So those will be presenting. Pardon me that we will take maybe 5 or 10 minutes for free of presentations, so that there is much more deeper engagement with the various presentations. I had prepared something, but now I'm worried about the time. But colleagues, then allow me to start with the program. Let's call upon our Vice Chancellor, Professor Khetla Ndlovu, who will be doing the welcoming. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Program Director. I was informed that the Mayor intended to be here this morning, but unfortunately, he has been called somewhere else. Our Mayor, Councillor Sipho Hadebe, distinguished guests from the Presidential Climate Commission, Dr. Shafiq Adams, who's a Commissioner, but also Executive Manager, Water Research Commission, Ms. Makoma Lekalakala, also a Commissioner and Director at Life Africa, Ms. Mpiwe Ngwenya, Program Manager, Mitigation, Mandy Jayagodi, PCC Commissioner and Manager, Just Urban Transition, Ms. Yuri Rakimsun, also Commissioner and Climate and Research Analyst. We also have Ms. Mandy Jayagodi. Oh, I've already mentioned Ms. Mandy Jayagodi. Members of Management, VUT, present here, Prof. Maggie Lillington, our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Teaching and Learning. We also have Dr. Speech Nirana, Acting Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research, Innovation, Commercialization and Internationalization. Our faculty deans, Prof. Krista Grobler, Faculty of Applied and Computer Science, Prof. Khaled Abu El Hussein, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Prof. Lazarus Maleho, Faculty of Human Sciences, Acting. Heads of departments and directors in our midst, our facilitator, of course, George Valo, Director Social Justice and Transformation at VUT. Our research professors and dedicated academics and scholars. We also have representatives from our VUT convocation, VUT labor unions, Nteu and Nehau. We also have a Nehau Regional Executive Committee, representative from VUT SRC and its substructures, our civil society groups, our partners whom we work with in this area of work, our staff, students, members of the community, organizing committee that work tirelessly to ensure that the success of this event is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I have a task, small, but of course it's significant, in that as Vice Chancellor of Vaal University of Technology, to welcome you all to this important public colloquium on climate change. But Program Director, before I do that, let me try and remind everyone in this house that climate change is not just an environmental issue. It is a matter that affects every aspect of our lives. From air we breathe, the food we eat, to the stability of our economies and the health of our communities. Unfortunately, unlike in the distant past, where we used to only see these incidences on television or read about them on newspapers, in recent times, these kinds of occurrences have hit our shores and are now closer to home. Despite an overall drying trend, the intensity and frequency of heavy rain events has also increased. Climate change has doubled the likelihood of the intense rain that hit parts of South Africa in April 2022, which led to hundreds of people being killed and many thousands lost their homes. Today, we have gathered here as a diverse group of experts, activists, policymakers, and concerned citizens to have a dialogue and a collaboration to address these challenges. Your presence here today can only mean one thing and one thing only, that you all have a shared commitment to understand and ultimately address one of the most pressing challenges of our time, which is climate change. Having said that, let me once again extend our heartfelt gratitude to the presidents, and I repeat this again as I said it earlier in our earlier engagements, who understood too well what is at stake and saw it befitting that this challenge be tackled from the highest office of the land. This by forming what we come to know today as the Presidential Climate Commission, PCC, with a clear mandate to oversee and facilitate a just and equitable transition towards a low-emission and climate-resilient economy. The PCC, in turn, showed confidence in VUT as a potential partner to assist in this endeavor. For that, we remain grateful and aim not to disappoint. Let me assure you that we have ample research and innovation expertise to support the PCC in developing sustainable solutions to this challenge, but also in our effort to bring our partners to the table. Commissioners, this House would be happy to know that over the years, the Vaal University of Technology has significantly contributed towards climate-related SDGs to demonstrate our commitment to climate action. We have published almost 272 articles on SDG 6, which is clean water and sanitation, 151 articles on SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, 113 articles on SDG 12, responsible consumption and production, and of course, 78 articles on SDG 13 when it comes to climate action. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to emphasize the point that these are Scopus indexed articles by VUT scholars. Of course, it remains a job, or our job, to make sure that such contributions are also translated into active action. Also, several efforts and inroads have been made concerning greening initiatives and transforming the curriculum to ensure the streamlining of climate change into a responsive and relevant curriculum that is responsive to industry and societal demands across our 4 faculties. VUT's footprint in the climate change space has been quite visible in recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the 6th assessment report, which cited several research from the university's leading rated researchers who, under very difficult conditions, can produce locally and globally relevant research which demonstrates resilience and, of course, craftsmanship. As we grapple with the growing impact of climate change, the university is willing and able partner to the cause of just energy transition. We raise our hand to foster collaboration in technology innovation, climate change education, research, and indeed in the development of green jobs through a robust and responsive curriculum and offering short courses in some of the emerging green jobs, be it in green hydrogen, solar, and biodiversity economy, to mention but a few. Last week, we were in Sweden for the South Africa-Sweden University Forum called SASUF, had an innovation week, and one of the key takeaways from that 5-day gathering is that a new program is on the pipeline to include a focus on green transition. This will enable VUT to provide staff and student exchanges with scholars and researchers in Swedish universities in areas such as the promotion of digital applications and green technologies, development of renewable energy solutions, and more importantly, engaging citizens and key stakeholders in implementing climate adaptations measures. And I think this is part and parcel of the work that the Commission is doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I do believe these align with the work we gathered here for today of answering a question of whether technology can play a role in addressing just transition and loss and damage. Former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, understood this well when he said innovation and investment in new sustainable technologies are crucial in addressing climate change and achieving sustainable development. Dr. Shafiq, you would recall that today's public colloquium comes hot on the heels of the researchers' symposium, which we held 2 weeks ago at the Desmond Tutu Great Hall at our main campus, under the theme, Harnessing Research and Innovation for Climate Change Action. The agenda on that day was filled with insightful presentation led by some of the foremost thinkers and practitioners in the field, researchers and scholars alike, who explored in detail some of the latest scientific findings, cutting-edge research, successful case studies, as well as ongoing studies around climate change. Most importantly, these great men and women shared innovative solutions, took a closer look at some of the policy frameworks that have made a difference, and in the end, discuss actionable strategies to mitigate and adapt to climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we can all agree that that symposium was a great build-up towards today's public colloquium, where we will explore the role of technology in addressing just transition and loss and damage running up to COP29. Without a doubt, technology is a key enabler in fostering a sustainable and resilient future by supporting both transition to a low-carbon economy and the mitigation of climate-related losses and damages. Technology can play a vital role in ensuring a just transition by enabling the shift from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. Innovation in clean energy technologies such as solar and wind power help create new jobs and industries, thereby reducing the socio-economic impact on workers and communities dependent on traditional energy sectors. Additionally, advancements in digital platform and smart grids enhance energy efficiency and accessibility, supporting equitable growth and reducing energy poverty. In the context of climate change, technology is essential for addressing loss and damage. Advanced early warning systems, satellite monitoring, and data analytics improve disaster preparedness and response, mitigating the impacts of extreme weather events. Furthermore, technologies for climate adaptation such as resilient infrastructure and sustainable agricultural practices will help our communities recover and adapt to climate-induced damages. Innovative financial technologies also facilitate more efficient and transparent distribution of climate funds to affected regions. Now, as we embark on this day of learning and exchange, let us remember that the fight against climate change requires a concerted effort from all sectors of society. It calls for a blend of individual responsibility and community action. Each of us has a role to play, and together we can drive the change needed to protect our planet for future generations. It is for this reason that President Ramaphosa in his 2024 State of the Nation address said, I quote, "Climate change is an existential challenge that confronts us all, and South Africa is committed to playing its part in reducing global emissions," unquote. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this colloquium. May it be an opportunity to engage in meaningful conversations that can spur collective action by working together with agency and purpose. I thank you.
Thank you so much, VC, Prof. Kehlandlovu, for those welcoming remarks. And indeed, actually, one of the key takeaways, from your address this morning is what you referred to as one of the pressing, challenges of our time. And you then actually went on to quote, our president. And mine, small one, if I were to tweak that, I will also actually say it is an existential crisis. Climate change is an existential crisis. And human beings actually are at the center of where we are now. But also, we also have to be at the center of the solutions. Before I call Dr. Shafiq Adams, let's also acknowledge the presence, of one of our Presidential Climate Commission commissioners, Mr. Jacques Hugo, who has actually joined us. He's the Vice President of FEDUSA. Allow me then to call upon Dr. Shafiq Adams, one of the commissioners and partners in this journey, as well as the executive manager for the Water Resource Commission. He will do a brief overview. Over to you, sir.
Thanks you, facilitator. And good morning, colleagues from VUT, my fellow commissioners, esteemed leadership, management and staff, as well as our social partners. I believe there's a few social partners and media representatives, all protocol observed. My name, as mentioned, is Shafiq Adams. I am a commissioner, but my day job is also working at the Water Research Commission. So I also work closely between the intersection between what's happening in our environment, institutions of higher learning that does most of our research, but also somewhat of our social partners. So we gather here today to VC maybe to convert this potential partnership into an actual partnership. And I think, and just listening to your comments of what you are doing already, I think, and you make my life difficult because now I need to go off script because I wanted to say the same things that you have said. But I think today's topic around technology, the role of higher learning institutions, and some of our pressing and often unique societal, environmental challenges that we experience in South Africa that we need to address, but also how do we translate this and export this knowledge and not just become a net consumer of knowledge from elsewhere, but also contribute significantly. And I made a comment earlier, this is my second visit in 3 weeks. I've had a few projects with VUT in the past as a research manager at the Water Research Commission. So I think it's maybe indicative of great things to come, not just from a PCC perspective, but also from a Water Research Commission perspective. And Prof. Ching has been responsible for some of the gray hair on my head. But over the past few decades, South Africa, like many parts of the world, has experienced incredible technological advancements. And of course, if you just look at some of the technologies that South Africa has produced, but also some of these technologies has been responsible for what we experience today in terms of climate change, in terms of how we generate energy, etc. So again, maybe it's that point in our history that we need now again to bifurcate to a greener energy and a greener world, but also being careful not to mal-adapt. Because I think that the problem with technology is it's easier to say, let's create new technologies to solve a particular problem, but it can also create other problems down the line. And I think these are some of these issues, but also often we talk about climate change, and of course we are from a commission that deals with climate change, but also we've got broader environmental problems that's interrelated with climate change. And again, we should not focus on one and neglect the other. I mean, in the backyard, the issue of the Vaal River and how the nutrients are finding its way into the Vaal River, that's creating all these blooms and the pollution. And of course, the cost of treatment goes up, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, part of it is driven by behavior. And part of this is driven by how we use our land. And in some of those cases, technology cannot solve it. How we change our behavior is going to solve a lot of those problems. And again, so how do we find that intersection between our behavior, the technologies that we want to unlock, and of course the ones that already exist, and how do we use them better. And so South Africa, and we've heard it already, will face and has been facing severe impacts from climate change and weather variability. And for example, we've already seen these extensive droughts, these in the eastern and western Capes. We've seen these flooding in, for example, in Durban, and how this is affected how we design and how do we even repair our systems after these events. And often it seems like we're repairing it like it's not going to happen again, and that these extreme events is now a 1 in 50 year or whatever. But again, we know the recurrence is, and again, so we need to create the technology and we need to create the know-how to build back better. And this is the issue about loss and damage. It's not just to replace and repair, but again, how do we substitute, or how do we repair and how do we replace with much more climate smart infrastructure. So even our models indicates that by the end of the century, that 90% of Southern Africa will be drier. So just 90% of Southern Africa. And of course, a lot of what we hear is, but oh, it's wet and it's lots of rain and our dams are full. But remember that climate change is a long-term shift and a long-term trend with a lot of noise in this trend as we become drier. So it is droughts, floods, etc. But again, the long-term trend is towards that drier scenario. So technological advancements continue to shape how we live, and I always laugh when I look at my colleagues, and maybe same here at VUT, how you grapple with generative AI models and how you use that in teaching and research and how you try and police that. And again, it just shows that how far some of these technologies can come upon you and how you need to respond, and how institutions of higher learnings and research institutions like the WRC as well is struggling with this, because now all of a sudden you need now not to trust people, and you need to use Turnitin and all of these things to check whether what you've received is actually what you've paid for, and those things. So I think we've also heard again already that we need to adopt a human and environmental centric. So we've heard a lot that we need to have a human centric, but we often forget that we also need to think about the environmental centric. You can't just what's good for humans, and I think that's part of the things that's been driving the problems that it's all about us and not this environmental centric. And this means that that we need to become empathetic in terms of what society needs and what the community needs and want in which we operate, rather than what we think as academics often what other people need. So again, how do we start to formulate a problem or a problem statement? Is it from my view, or is it from the view of the people that I'm trying to help? So, and again, a lot of those principles we need to go back and we need to engage and then develop our research from that, because I know you've done your PhD and something has become your pet subject which you want to carry throughout your career, but have you ever asked yourself, but is this what society or the environment needs? And often we find that it's not so. And again, institutions of higher learning, and we've heard the impressive from the VC, the research outputs, but he makes a very fundamental statement. Is that output our outcome? It should not be. That output should lead to an outcome and the impact that we want to create in the world. Counting publications and citation and H-index is not enough anymore for the challenges that we have. Maybe okay for the developed world that they can just looking for tenure and all of these things, but we are employed to solve particular problems nowadays, and again we need to come to these type of outcomes-based things. So, for example, is our, and I'm glad VC also mentioned it, is our research leading to policy shifts? Is it leading to how we engage and how we adapt, and can we use it, for example, when the loss and damage issue is becoming, because the president also announced that we'll also have a fund in addition to the global fund agreed at COP28. So, and again, will we have those technologies that we say we want to now take from the laboratory, we want to demonstrate, pilot, and we want to get it to maybe commercialization or to implementation, etc. So how do we do this? But this, for us at the PCC, must be done in a just and fair way. And that is the key. Technology must not be at the detriment of jobs and in the economy and the livelihoods of local communities. Because, and again, you need to go and engage those communities to understand, will it work there? What will the impact of whatever we want to do or in those communities. But yeah, so the VCs, a lot of things that they've said, but maybe I just leave you with a good quote that Simon Arnold in his book, The Good Country Equation, says. He said, "It might be too late to leave a better world for our children, but we can prepare them for a different world." Okay, very, very profound. I think for most of us, that's it, it's our stage of life, it's too late. We need now to prepare, and we need now to try and leave a better world and create the mechanisms and the tools to enable them to carry this forward. So with that, thank you for your attention today. But let us leave here inspired and committed to making a positive impact on our environment, our country, and our world. So I wish you well with the deliberations. But again, I think the facilitator also we don't want to see 50 slides. We want to engage, and we want to talk, and we want to, because it's part of that engagement, and how do we make it better? And so if you have 50 slides, think about how you make it 5 slides. So with that, thank you, and you're all welcome, as the VC has mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Adams, for that actually brief overview in terms of the expectations for this particular actually gathering. I couldn't actually help but not actually to note what you raised. When you talked about what I will call actually the risks, we must be careful not to maladapt. Creating other problems down the stream, because that's what actually technologies have. They have their good and the bad side to it. And but when you talk about maladaptation, I was also reminded of an Egyptian scholar, Sami Amin, on maldevelopment, that actually even development itself can also actually go awry. But also what was sobering from your actually remarks is that when you said by the end of this century, by the turn of this century, in 76 years down the line, is that 90% of Southern Africa, will be dry. A very important actually part of this program, where actually we really grapple, with the theme of the day. The role of technology in addressing just transition, how technologies can assist us in ensuring that actually the transition, because it is a given, there is going to be and there must be a transition, but will that transition be just? Will the transition be fair? Will the transition be equitable? And will the transition be inclusive for all humanity? So in terms of our program then, in your program, we actually making some slight adjustments. Simpiwe Ngwenya, who is not actually, unfortunately, won't be joining us. However, we have actually Jacques Hugo, actually, who will actually present, but he will present after, our other speaker, Prof. Khaled Abu El Hussein, our Executive Dean for Faculty of Engineering and Technology, will actually take to the podium before him. And, I'm sorry that we have to bring you in, but we always know that actually we are always prepared. So. And Jacques actually will follow after Prof. Abu. So, colleagues, those who might have missed his actually engagement in April, is that actually Prof. Kabu actually is one of our deans, but also very passionate, about technologies. And I don't want to steal his thunder, but there is more actually that he has up his sleeves. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khalid. I serve as the Dean of Faculty of Engineering and Technology. The faculty has got four departments, and the departments are responsible for a number of programs. Last time I presented officially a presentation on the use of hydrogen. Green hydrogen in particular, but I thought today I'd like to have it as an informal discussion, and because I believe that technologies for mitigation, the effect of the hazards that results in climate change can be vast. It's not only hydrogen. So I decided that let's just go into informal discussion, so the floor also must participate with me. I checked the approach by the PCC on mitigating climate change, and they mentioned yes, the use of technology, but I can see that the focus is more on a human being, and it's not limited to the application of technologies to mitigate the consequences of climate change. But with doing that, there should be more focus on the society and the consequences on human beings and livelihoods. So starting from here, we would like to emphasize whenever there is an idea to use technologies, there should be also a comprehensive approach whereby the different stakeholders around you are also pulled in, and their interests should be protected. For example, we have a strong move in the university to look at the use of green technology or green hydrogen technology. And we are looking at, for example, in one of the buildings in engineering, we do have solar panels, but we are looking at combining that with hydrogen technology. Now the question is, how we are going to look outside at the society around us in order to really increase their awareness, get more skills out there, and yeah. Also, we dealt with some agents representing companies overseas that they are interested in putting up plants to process waste. So the idea to them was that they need to have many plants scattered in the locations in different areas. So rather than having, for example, a big plant where all the waste gather there, rather they have many plants for hydrogen production in the locations. And that will be easier for the people to really, or easier for them to stock the waste that can be used for generating hydrogen. At the same time, the community out there will benefit from the technology that's going to be next to them in terms of awareness, in terms of skills development. So definitely these mini plants will need skills, and the skills will come from this community. At the same time, these plants will help to mitigate the waste and for example, the extra food stock that is available in the area. Now, at the same time, the same hydrogen producer will put up they are running a feasibility study to put up a hydrogen generation power plant, but using green technology. As I presented last time, hydrogen can be produced either from methane or from gas, and that's process called gasification. It's not really helpful in terms of climate change mitigation. The other process is to use electrolysis to produce hydrogen from water. So now the question is that with the production of hydrogen from water, there will be now additional pressure on water resources in the country. Now with the use of green hydrogen, we are talking about not fresh water, but we are talking about water that is free from contaminants. So for that, we need to have the necessary skills that can deal with water processing, wastewater purification. Again, I'm not talking about water that can be used for drinking. And you know the situation in Gauteng in terms of water reservoirs that are produced after mining. That can be a good source for hydrogen production. Colleagues, I'm just mentioning one technology for mitigating of climate change. However, I believe that the approach is not only to use the technology, it's not only about transferring the technology to our area, but it's also, again, it's about people who are going to use the technology. When we talk about hydrogen technology and the use of hydrogen technology, for example, what we foresee is that it can be easily used for heavy trucks, okay, for heavy transportation, and for around in the area for decarbonizing steel making. The Vaal area is well known for steel making, and this process produces a lot of carbon dioxide. With the introduction of hydrogen during the manufacturing process, the amount of carbon can be captured or can be eliminated, rather than using this classic way of capturing carbon dioxide and storing it in the underground. Now, the challenge is not in the technology exists there. The challenge is in the expertise and the skills that needs to be developed around that. Yes, you can have a hydrogen engine, you run your car with hydrogen engine, but who is going to take care of the system? Where is the expertise? So recently we have been engaging with the EU, and we put up a proposal with 20 EU members, and we have been privileged to be the only South African rep in terms of University of Technology that will participate in the development of vocational training in green hydrogen technology. So our idea was to have at least, or to develop at least a higher certificate in green technology or in green hydrogen, renewable energy. And the purpose of that is to have the necessary skills ready for this hydrogen technology that is going to invade the country. We can't wait to have trucks, to have steel making production that really heavily relies on hydrogen. And for that, you need to have the necessary skills. So VUT is going to be responsible for a working group, one of 10 working groups, and we will be giving the necessary resources to develop this curriculum. This is in addition to other short learning programs and to a number of international conferences. So I'd like to open the floor for maybe ideas, thoughts from my colleagues in VUT, also from our guests, about their understanding or their concerns about the use, for example, of hydrogen, or maybe any other technology that is meant for mitigating. But I need to re-emphasize that the framework of the just transition that has been developed by the PCC is mainly not about only technology that used for mitigating climate change, but also about people. So, can I ask the crowd, what do you think about the use of the combination of renewable energies rather than hydrogen, for example. Nuclear energy. Why we don't talk about nuclear energy? So I'm just trying to trigger the discussion, and we need to really, as a VUT, we need really to play our role, not just to do research in terms of technical research, but also to look at how we can benefit the society around us. Yes? You may please introduce yourself first.
My name is Pearson Sibanda. I'm a business consultant.
Welcome.
This could not have come at a more opportune time for me, for example. I'll just place a disclaimer. I'm not an expert insofar as hydrogen technology is concerned. But what I've read is that the challenges with hydrogen relate to storage and transportation. I'm told it requires temperatures of minus 259 degrees Celsius or something, which is a major challenge. And then you must move it to wherever you want to generate electricity, which is another challenge considering its volatility. I've been in discussions with some experts who are advocating for rather the use of ammonia in the sense that ammonia is more stable, easy to transport, but that requires you using seawater, which avoids one of the challenges that you mentioned with access to water. If you use seawater, then you can use renewable technologies to make your ammonia, and then you can transport it to wherever, Far East, wherever. I just wanted to hear your comments on that, because it's quite topical, I must say.
Thank you very much. Maybe somebody wants to reply to this? Yes, Dr. Sutherland.
My name is Trudy Sutherland. I'm from the Center for Alternative Energy. We have students that are already in the applied sciences that deals with hydrogen storage. And they're quite far advanced as far as I know, Prof. So that is already in the pipeline by us. And the fact that you want small little areas within the people in the locations and all that, that is what we need. We can do that with wind energy as well, so that the wind trees produce very little energy, but enough for the people in a house or a shack or wherever they are, so that you have just transition within the places that needs it the most, and who hasn't got the monies to buy the big and expensive solar energies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question, if I may come in here. Yes, the challenge number one when we deal with hydrogen is the storage. Hydrogen tends to leak quick through the material structures. And that's why we look at this technology. We, as a university, before we embark on doing research, the idea is not just to do research. The idea is to do research that is relevant to the industry. And we cannot avoid that hydrogen is one of the main, in addition to fuels, other fuels that use in fuel cells, like ammonia and maybe methane. And so we are aware of the challenge, and this is one of the priorities when it comes to doing research, applied research in Vaal University of Technology. We have facilities that deal with production of materials and processing of materials, examination of materials, and hence we would like to embark on the use of hydrogen as an alternative energy. But it's really valid point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm Sahile Manga from Mfuleni, the advisor to the executive mayor. Look here, I was just very happy when you raised the question on the waste, both solid waste and affluent waste. Look here, at the current moment, as the Vaal, the Mfuleni, we sit with around 58% of unemployment. Then you have your manufacturing industry also going down. Now at the moment, I just remember, I think around Friday, you just have a waste throughout our region. Now the question of the waste is two, is that the cost that the municipality incurs in removing waste almost is lower 3 times than what the residents must pay. That's one question. Now the municipality is sitting with the challenges that how do you effectively collect your waste? You have continuously the trucks that breaks. Do you over-invest in that? Or do you have an alternative in terms of how you deal with the waste? It's almost similar to our waste treatment plants. You know, we'll sooner engage with the rainwater on the partnership than the rainwater. It's saying, no, this is a gold, the waste is a gold. They will use far better than what the municipality is currently doing. I think also, lastly, I was just very excited thinking decentralize it. You know, you sit with the townships in the Vaal. If we can just look at those statistics, those are doing houses. Most of the RDP houses were built in our area. Almost about, there's no area in Gauteng in particular that has built more houses than our region because we had the space. Now this is putting a huge burden in the municipality whereby 80% of households are supported by almost 20% of households. I just, to just have an input and have your comments on that. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Siabonga. I'm the manager for international relations, internationalization here at VUT. I want to share the sentiments that have been made by the previous speaker. You know, when I interrogated this framework of the PCC, one aspect that is not clearly articulated is the issue of social aspects of climate change. That talks to the issues of attitude. I understand that today we are talking about the technologies, but the technologies, to me, they come second because the issue is the attitude. For instance, the issue of waste that is just explained. And one would expect that the framework would have a kind of followed some human ecological approach that looks at the complexities within the complexities at different levels of interaction between people, between organisms, and the environments. When you talk of the environments, you're talking of the technological environment, you're talking of the educational environment, you're talking of the physical environment, and many other environments. And I think what is just raised is very important because before we talk about the technologies, those complex interactions have to be understood and be clearly articulated in the framework. Thank you.
Thanks. If I may just take this. Look, we can have days of discussions here, and we talk about nice technologies, and we can bring the technologies around here, and we show how we can generate electricity from the using hydrogen that has been generated using solar power. However, this is our limit. We need to increase the awareness out there. We talk about waste. We talk about solid waste. We talk about plastics that are abundant in the environment. And without the increasing the awareness among the community out there, we won't be able to achieve any success. You talk to these kids outside, and you tell them mechanical engineering. Talk to them about mechanical or chemical engineering. They don't know what does a chemical engineering do. So we have a lot of things to do. We are talking about production of hydrogen in the locations, in the townships, but people don't know what hydrogen is. So we really have a lot of things to do. So when I mention about the mini plants, the beauty about hydrogen production, it can be massive plant and it can be small plants with the same principle. So now, when we have these, I'm just giving an example, when we have these setups, small setups, located in the townships, and we run courses around that. We teach people how they can generate energy from the waste that they generate. And we run a campaign on the awareness, to increase the awareness of renewable energy, and this will be in their favor in terms of clean environment, in terms of mitigation the climate change, and the further consequences that are going to be positively affecting their life. So it is really a huge thing. We can easily speak about technology here, but the bottom line is how we are going to close that gap that in terms of awareness out there. When it comes to waste, I want to be very specific here. We are talking about two types of waste: solid waste, also the plastic waste. Plastic also can be converted into hydrogen and other side products. And we know that the country and all over the world, plastic is one of the waste that can't be recycled easily. But there's a technology that can be used to convert plastic into hydrogen, and indirectly you get rid of the plastic waste in the environment. Thank you for the two comments. Any further comments? Yes, Prof? Mike?
Thank you very much. Prof. Khalid, yeah.
All right, okay.
Thank you for your initial presentation. Firstly, I'm very interested to hear what kind of adaptation-focused projects that VUT does. There's a lot of focus globally on renewables, on energy, and you know, the context of South Africa, adaptation is very, very important given the vulnerabilities that we have here. So that's the first question. A second question, I'd like to respond in part to the gentleman over here in terms of the Just Transition Framework. The Just Transition Framework was never meant to be prescriptive. It is almost a foundation on which other works need to be built. And there was no way that we could have made it a very prescriptive document given what we're working with. But I think these kind of conversations will add to that journey, and we look forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, but you haven't introduced yourself.
I beg your pardon. My name is Mandy Jayakodi, and I am in the adaptation team at the PCC.
Okay. Can I ask, what do you mean by adaptation? It means the relevance of the projects, or relevance of what we do, or the future?
Yes. So basically, you will know that if you look at it at a macro level, you have mitigation projects which look at reducing GHG emissions, whereas adaptation-focused projects look at reducing vulnerabilities and improving resilience, particularly with vulnerable groups.
So to reduce the consequence of the climate change. Thanks.
Correct.
Thanks. Maybe I'll ask Prof. Dobie to come in here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. So I think as Vaal University of Technology, we recently, I think most of us would have seen, I think, the onboarding of the Agriculture Department. But we also have a Center for Sustainability Livelihoods that has been looking at how small gardens can actually contribute towards, I think, assisting in terms of food insecurity, given the amount of droughts I think that we are facing. But we've also been conducting projects in collaboration with South African national parks that has also been looking at nature-based solutions in order to address some of the climate change challenges. We've got some project that we've also worked with the Western Cape provincial government, the Cape Town provincial government, looking at coastal erosion. I think also we've got some project that has been ongoing in Eastern Cape, and also some private nature reserves to look at how tourism and ecotourism can be used in terms of adaptation solutions. So I think in brief, we can share, I think, much more in terms of that. I think we can exchange notes after this. Thank you.
There's a question here by the Vice Chancellor, Prof. Lovo.
Sorry, it's not a question, so to say. I'm just trying to think in terms of, at the end of the day, are we getting answers, or are we more or less also thinking in terms of the kind of solutions that we have to bring to the fore? We may ask the question, but it's always help if one says, you know, from my point of view, I think these are the kinds of things that we can do, because it becomes important in terms of how then to expand new knowledge that we may be getting out of this process. I'll tell you something very interesting about the comment made regarding the attitude of the public, more or less, how to bring human ecology approach into the whole thing. You know, the sewer is a simple and straightforward matter in that it's either the infrastructure is old and therefore it needs to be renewed, and as simple as that. But the other human challenges around sewer and waste, in a sense that I may move in an area where maybe my traditions are not necessarily well accepted, and I slaughter a cow, and because I don't eat the intestines and the head and I don't know what to do with the skin, I then dump it into a sewer and think that's gonna go away, and therefore it blocks and then creates problems. A simple, small thing causes more havoc than we think. And so how do we get the public and the people to actually think about these things, that when they see sewer spilling, it might not just because of the infrastructure itself, but it might be the cause by the very same people in the same area. And how do we find ways in which we can engage our public to have an understanding of these challenges, and how to also be able to be responsible to act as soon as possible, you know. So it becomes important that we have a partnership, and I think this issue of climate challenges and so on transit to that, to say how do we create those partnerships in our communities with municipalities, with institutions, and so on, to be able to. I was once asked a simple process where government provided tunnels for what we call cooperatives, very noble, good event, and a lot of money spent on these things. But they forgot one thing, is to teach people how to fix those small challenges. Water blockage and the tunnel stands for months and months, just a small little thing, you know. And how do we do those things? Because I think it becomes important that we have that kind of initiative ourselves, that we take into account. So there is a lot that I think we have to do in creating public awareness on some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shafiq.
Maybe just to wrap it up, I saw the facilitator already indicating, but sitting here and because I'm very interested in this type of thing, but if you just listen, and maybe if the recording or the minutes, we all speak in a push mode. We already think what's good for someone else. And this is where the problem is, because this is where the attitude is, because if someone pushes something to me, what's my response immediately? Anxiety. What's this? Where is it coming from? And South Africa is rife with this type of problem, because it's maybe from a different political party, It's the scientists versus the engineers versus the man on the street, is the different social partners. But how do we create a push-pull model? So, and again, so for example, let's take the hydrogen thing. We already preempt that we can install it decentralized all over the place. Is that true? No. But you see what we're doing, we're pushing it. But we never say, okay, but what will work in that context? If there's 8% unemployment, do you rather want to go to a technology that's maybe slightly dirtier, but create jobs? Versus something that's just there, it's sanitized and create no job, but people, so again, maybe it is that, but does the energy provision unlock economic activities? So these are the type of context. So you always need to and they call it a design thinking approach. I'm not sure whether you've heard. So your first thing that you do, before you think about the solution, is about empathy. So you put yourself in the end users, or you engage the end user, or you listen to the end user, what will work for them, not what we think will work for them. Because even the decentralized model, as an example, Prof, if I take it all over the place, and we know, so you just need to look at the local municipal monitor, etc., and see how dysfunctional it is. Now you're going to put these type of things there. Do we expect it to be sustainable? No. But again, what is the model? Who will run and operate, etc.? So again, it then drags us back into the governance things. And again, if we look at all the reports around governance, there's a huge problem. So, and again, we need to not just say this is the technology, which brings me to my point for the university, and maybe the takeaway from this discussion is, are we creating multidisciplinary teams that look at these things and not just put hydrogen on the table, and now we talk about it. Now I say, I'm going to talk to the social guy. You're not going to go and tell the communities. Yes. That's the wrong way to do it. We need to already have done that, and then we say, okay, but now here's the toolbox of solutions. Which one will work better in this context? And then we can then change the system in a much more coherent way that deals with the issues of attitude. Because as I said in my opening as well, behavior to me is the problem. In South Africa, our per capita use is way too high. It's a behavior problem. Building more dams is not going to solve that problem. It needs to start at the individual and build it from there. Because giving me more water means I now can plant more grass. And it's not solving the problem. So maybe that's just, so just my takeaway is, are we creating the right teams within the universities that look at particular problems from a push-pull model, et cetera? And that's why I'm saying that the social sciences are often my experience at least, I've been an academic probably 20 years ago, but my experience are they are the least resource because they bring maybe the least subsidy into the system. So you see in the university who's the glamour boys and girls, etc. But are we then bringing that right skills to deal with some of our contextual problems? Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Shafiq. Yeah. At the back there, Mr. Radabi.
Good morning, colleagues. Let me appreciate first and foremost this colloquium. It's one of the colloquiums that we need in the Vaal. My name is Joseph Norman Khatebe, responsible for community engagement at VUT. My input is not a question per se, but allow me, Dr. Khalik, to impress upon you that the community of the Vaal is suffocating due to the air omission that is omitted by NATREV, that is omitted by your Metal, that is omitted by SOSOL. We believe that VUT is centrally positioned and VUT has done ample resources, research in the area of air pollution and in the area of water. What we are impressing upon is that with all the articles that we are having, all the critical engagements that we are having, we do not have practical solutions to mitigate the situation that is facing us. We want to impress upon the colloquium that as you are adopting programs of action, do focus on issue of pollution. The research has told us that 30% of miscarriages that happens in the Vaal is because of air pollution. So we are impressing upon that this colloquium at least should have an outcome-based solutions and interventions with VUT at central or leading these projects. We are fortunate enough as VUT that during the transitions of universities, higher education in 2004, we were awarded ample land where we can utilize that effectively to establish these programs. We know one critical programs that we are in a pipeline is the one of bringing an alternative, safer energy, one of its kind in the globe. We'll be doing that pilot project with CBD Spectrum. These are kind of programs that we will pride ourselves with, because these interventions, first and foremost, they are climate savvy. Secondly, they are bringing solutions to the energy crisis that we are having in a practical means. So I implored upon that, let's be progressive and take leadership. We are so blessed as a university to be honored from the presidency office 2 times in a month. It means that VUT has been strategically targeted as an area of intervention. And with that, I applaud VUT for having welcomed this colloquium. I want this colloquium to have maximum outcome-based solution where we'll be able to leverage and mitigate the problems that are facing us. Thank you. And thanks for the interventions that you are doing as the engineering department.
Can we take last comment from Prof. Grobler? Yes, Prof.
And strategies is a process of maturity. So we first need to start collecting data, come up with innovative scientific thoughts, investigate them, and unfortunately that is a process that can be a little bit isolated. I do agree 100% with you that we need an inter-multi-transdisciplinary approach. And I can proudly say to my colleague, Mr. Radebe, that it's not only air pollution that's suffocating the Vaal, it's also water pollution. So in both the Faculty of Engineering and the Faculty of Applied and Computer Sciences, we are focusing both on energy and on pollution. Now, when we reach the stage now where we need to measure implementation, when we need to come with implementation, it's there where we now need to collaborate. And in terms of the energy, there is a strong leadership in terms of the water pollution, to try to bring these individuals, that's researchers, together, and as well as the energy, and particularly the alternative energy. so that we merge now the science that has collected these data. And just for the attendees, we are now at that stage where we have formed an interdisciplinary collaboration team, and that we are now at a stage where we also incorporate human sciences, as Prof. Dube indicated, but also managerial sciences. So all 4 faculties are engaged in this collaborative approach to address this, but unfortunately we are also in need of funding. So we have also, under the leadership of Prof. Khaled, submitted some grant applications, of which we are awaiting the outcome, and as soon as we are financially strong enough, we can now take it to the next level. So just to put the ideas at ease, that is exactly what our approach is and the stage where we have developed into. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Prof. Let's just take a burning comment now from Professor Ochieng. Please, if you can just make it fast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Prof. I'll make it quick. Just to quickly try and respond to the current situation we're talking about, and addressing what Dr. Shafiq was talking about. It goes back to our previous discussions within the university as well. We need to go back to seriously developing pilot projects on scholarly community engagement. And this is critical. I'll give you an example. I might be biased now with reference to my department. We've recently put together a proposal to start on what we're calling a development through a healthy infrastructure. Development through a healthy infrastructure is a community engagement project for which we sourced funding from the university, and we were fortunate to have been given some money. So we're going we have already initiated the process. And the idea here is to address those little niggling things within the community. For instance, one of our key objectives is to look at solid waste management. Apart from solid waste management, we look at infrastructure in general. We're looking at how to fix little taps, how to not misuse the infrastructure. For instance, the usage of, or the throwing or disposal of solid stuff in our wastewater systems. How not to misuse or how not to mistreat our waste, stormwater systems. So those are some of the things we want to engage in. And I think the project is starting in the next 1 month or so. We have already identified the person on the ground to work with within the community. And it's going to be a pilot system within the department, looking at development through a healthy infrastructure. That is our theme or our motto. I've had discussions with Mr. Kharebe already, and I'm glad the mayor representative is here, because we have also tried to communicate with the office of the mayor. But I think it's good that the person is here, because we have challenges in terms of communicating and getting through to the municipalities to try and do exactly what we intend to do. Simply because there are a lot of roadblocks. And some of them we understand they're political. And when we talk of healthy infrastructure, looking at social, political, and economic, look at all of them. And that's one area we want to also look into. So it's good that you're here, we'll be able to engage you. As a university, I think in terms of adaptation, we have engaged research in the 4 taps of new water. You know, the so-called new taps of water. Dr. Shafiq talked already, you know, we are very resource intensive. Building new dams is not going to help. And current studies are going towards what we are calling the water sensitive urban design and all that, looking at new taps. Those are areas that we are looking at as ways of adapting to resilience or developing resilience towards climate change. So as an institution, all we need to do when you're developing the policy, maybe that will be the key part at the end of the day, is to pick up all these little pockets, put them together, so that our policy drives the agenda that talks to the PCC and talks to the framework that we already have in front of us. It's got its own, initially I also had issues, but I've been informed that it was supposed to be generic, not to talk specific, which is okay. We'll be able to address that as time goes by. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and we look forward to have a fruitful day today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Khaled, and also actually to this actually robust engagement. Perhaps actually it means that actually maybe we dedicating just a day to this event, you know, could actually not actually achieve all actually the goals, because our idea really is to have those engagements. These are very vital as part of these dialogues. Without any further ado then, allow me to also actually welcome to the podium, you know, our next speaker. I know we are standing between the T and you, Jacques Hugo. And over to you, sir.
Vice Chancellor, Prof, fellow commissioners, esteemed guests, all protocol observed. Let me just qualify my presence here this morning. 2 minutes before the session started, Blessing from the PCC said to me, "You're on the second part of the program this morning." So that's how we do it at the PCC. We fall on our feet like cats. But it is an absolute privilege. It's an absolute privilege to be here today and to be part of this colloquium. In order for the just transition to succeed, every aspect needs to add to its success. And you know, there was some talk about the framework. The framework was crafted within the PCC without having a base to work from. So the framework at its heart is a framework. And I think we've set a very high bar internationally in terms of our framework, and I know that some of the work that's gone into the framework has already been used internationally as well. Whether it's technology or nature-based solutions, we need to use all of that to advantage. So, Prof, to your comments in terms of green hydrogen, green hydrogen is but one of the aspects that will solve challenges within our country. We are endowed with lots of resources in order for the green hydrogen to take off. But isn't it time, and this is a personal comment, isn't it time to move from conception to that implementation? Our next door neighbor, Namibia, is now proud of the fact they're going to be producing green steel. And you know, when I see things like that, I say it's time for action, less time for talk. And I think one of the biggest challenges is in terms of the investment that's needed in this new technology. Prof, on your presentation, green hydrogen is not an option anymore, but a necessity in our aim for a progressive NDC. In a country where we're struggling with energy surety and somehow recency in our heads make us forget about the ills of load shedding. And I think it's the same on the Vaal, like in Johannesburg. If there's load shedding, we all start talking in different languages, talking about why is this happening to us. In terms of solving the energy challenges, there needs to be a mix. We have seen in the latest draft of the IRP 2023 that there's proposals from the Department of Mineral and Energy in terms of that energy mix. We are of the opinion that that energy mix needs to be more progressive. When we set targets, we need to quantify, reduce, and monitor our emissions. And this is where technology will play a big role in understanding that. The right technology can simplify the process, make it more efficient, transparent, and more effective. Both technology and nature-based solutions is the key in working together and leveraging on the existing and future technology to achieve the ultimate goal. And I think one thing that we're now seeing that is growing exponentially is artificial intelligence. And that will need to be harnessed and understood in this journey towards a just transition. I've promised to be short. Thank you very much.
Indeed, actually, his was brief and short. Maybe they conspired, with Khaled that he will use his time. And I was more worried that we might not have actually enough time for actually Jacques. Thank you so much, Jacques, for actually those challenges. Colleagues, again, as we are going to go for a break, tea break, that is it possible? I'm requesting with utmost actually respect that we can at least shorten maybe the time that we have allocated to the break so that we can catch up. Can we steal maybe 10 minutes from those 30? Will that work? Fantastic. I see. Actually, thank you so much, colleagues, for giving us that green light. We will then break now, take a tea break, and we should be back exactly at 11:05. Thank you, colleagues. You have been a good audience so far. Thank you so much.